This is a notice, an order that Judge Boyce issued on Monday. This was an order following the presentation of evidence. There's some background. This is basically an order permanently sealing certain trial exhibits. The court has carefully considered the facts of the case, the high-profile nature of the trial, and the contents of the exhibits and admitted and published therein. Today, the court considers the overarching policy considered in Idaho Code 195306 that victims of crimes be treated with fairness, respect, dignity, and privacy throughout the criminal justice process. In cases involving homicide where the actual victim is unable to exercise those rights themselves, the courts in Idaho are to apply equal consideration to the immediate families of homicide victims. Here, there are 3 victims of homicide: Tylee, JJ, and Tammy. The court, in considering the future unsealing of certain portions of the record upon final final disposition, considers the continuing policy of allowing victims and their immediate family to be afforded the rights. Okay, so then he goes on to say, following the conclusion of the jury trial, this court has received multiple requests from various individuals, including media members and authors, intending to publish information about this case in their respective business ventures. Certain requests seek to obtain all of the exhibits in the case, with some expressly requesting the autopsy photos published to the jury in this case. Pause right there. Just to make it clear, I have not requested any of these items. But I will tell you, behind the scenes, a lot of media outlets will send in a blanket request when a trial's over saying, we would like any and all records pertaining to the Daybell investigation. And then we get it. I had planned to do that. I just haven't yet, simply because of time. But anybody could do that. There is a fee. You could do that. You could file a public records request, and there is a fee, and it depends. Some agencies charge like $1 a page. Some, it just all depends, and I'm sure they're figuring that out. But it appears that some people have specifically requested the autopsy photos. I would not show those to you. I would not request them. I personally don't want to see them again. Other journalists may want that, and that's their prerogative. For me, that is interesting to me that they would request that. Continuing on. The court notes that at trial, those photos were published to the jurors, the parties, the court, and in some instances privately to the victims upon their request. They were not, however, publicly disseminated in consideration of the above stated policies. In Lori's trial, we did see more autopsy photos of JJ, of Tammy, some. We saw some of them, more so than in Chad Daybell's trial. And about, a week or 2 in, the judge started to not show them and they turned the screens away. The court here balances out the rights of victims and the general public's right to case information, including those who have vested interest in monetizing the tragedies surrounding this case. The right of the public to information in a criminal case is clear. That right to information must be balanced against the policies stated herein. Notably, the court was particularly moved by several victim impact statements at sentencing expressly criticizing individuals proclaiming to be the media, who, in the course of this case, has disrupted the lives of the families of these victims in the past, and now continue their efforts to sensationalize and capitalize on this crime. Some of those family members described in detail the psychological trauma they have unfairly been subjected to by the media, simply because they had some familial relationship to the victims in this case. It is the intention of this court to mandate the fair, respected, dignified consideration of these victims and their immediate family members by finding the content of these exhibits is fairly classified as material, quote, the publication which would be highly objectable to the reasonable person under Idaho Administrative Rule 32. Accordingly, this court will, upon final disposition of this case, permanently seal the following trial exhibits. And there they are. There's 97 in total. And there you can see them all. And it says that they will be sealed. Let me zoom out here. Sealed is the interest of the victims and family members to be spared the ongoing trauma of such sensitive or gruesome material being disseminated is not outweighed by the right of public disclosure of this evidence. Victims Tylee Ryan, JJ Vallow, Tammy Daybell, and their family members' respect, dignity, and privacy are best protected by the continued sealing of these exhibits. So there's 97. I went back and looked at, well, I wrote down all the exhibits during the trial. These are the autopsy photos of all three people, JJ, Tylee, and Tammy. They're the photos of JJ's body at the property where he was found, of Tylee's remains at the property of, I believe, Tammy Daybell in her bed. They're the most gruesome photos you could imagine. And many people have asked me what I think about the order. Personally, I'm not opposed to it, and I'm just fine with it. If the judge were to seal all of the evidence, I would have an issue, as that's, to me, a First Amendment issue, and this was a public trial. He didn't seal all the evidence. He shared these things, and again, these are things I personally would never request. I never want to see again. I didn't even see them all. And I believe that this is the right move for the families. And some media might criticize me for saying that, might criticize the judge for doing this, but I support it, and I'm glad. I mean, there have been cases you might recall of another murder trial. I don't remember. By the way, he mentions in this order that when he refers to the media, he's not referring to traditional outlets like the Associated Press, but more so YouTubers, bloggers, social media type media. There was one of those YouTubers who, I believe it was a YouTuber a year or two ago, got autopsy photos of children, and you had to pay. You didn't have to pay. You could pay if you wanted to see them, and people did it. And she was very, very much criticized in the news. And, that is just craziness to me. And that's an issue that I've always considered myself a more traditional reporter. I went to journalism school. I worked at traditional television news stations. East Idaho News is a news outlet, and we have a code of ethics that we follow. And we, there's ethical things we will and won't do. We are competing against YouTubers, in a way, I guess. I shouldn't say competing, but there's YouTubers out there. There's Facebookers out there who do really, really great work. I'm not bashing them. Please don't get me wrong. Some I probably would bash. I don't really follow the channels, but it seems to me what the judge is referring to when he has this order. So I say all this because I'd love to know, what do you think? Are you glad the judge sealed it permanently? Do you think the judge should not have sealed it? I guess there could probably be, if somebody really wanted to force it, you could probably sue, and it could go up to the Supreme Court and argue that those things should be released, but I don't know if I see anybody doing it.